I think it's time that we kind of dived a little bit deeper, dived a little bit deeper into the nose of our wardrobe and how it can actually revolutionize and transform our relationship with our wardrobe and with our personal style. This is us airing our dirty laundry today. We're talking about what we don't like as opposed to what we do like. Anyway, grab a drink because we are hydrated, we are glowing in this community, and let's get into it. Feel free to grab a notebook at this point because class is in session and we will be taking notes. But I wanted to start with this first idea of what are your anti-style words? Because we spend a lot of time thinking about, like, there's so many good systems out there as far as like Ellie Jean's style routes, or I've seen one creator on Instagram talk about the 3 C's. She's amazing. Or the classic Alison Bornstein with the 3 style words. We could go on and on and on with all of those. So I'm thinking in the opposite terms, what are your anti-style words? What are the things that you absolutely detest to have on your body? Like, you don't want them anywhere near you. There's probably more anti-style words than style words. Like, it makes sense to define the parameters of what you actually do like. And I don't want to see it too carried away with like, not this, not this, not this, not this. We'll end up with 100 anti-style words. I'm going to have to give you examples here to help this make sense. It's kind of like having a more helpful ick, like using the ick factor to point you in the direction of something that you wish to avoid in your outfits, in your style. So for example, for me, one of my anti-style words might be frumpy, because if I put on an outfit and I feel frumpy in it, that is guaranteed to be something that makes me feel that ick factor that I don't like. It's like suddenly I want to take everything off my body, throw it in the bin, start again. Whereas the outfit might actually be constructed from clothing that I like, and clothing that would be better served if it was paired slightly differently together. It might not actually be that it's the pieces themselves, it might be just the styling and how it's going together. And if I can pinpoint it down to this combination makes me feel frumpy, then I can start to work with it and start to bring it more online, a defrump of the outfit, versus if I was just thinking, well, why isn't this working with my style words if my style words are like comfy, casual, elevated, you know, and like, okay, this is a comfy jumper and this is an elevated pair of shoes, and you know what I mean? Where your pieces feel like they fit your style words, but the outfit still doesn't work together. Sometimes the anti-style words can help, because I'm like, well, this whole thing is frumpy. Maybe that's because this jumper and this pair of pants is like too much volume all at once. And then I can start to tweak and refine and work with what I actually have. And so your anti-style words should be things that are like style traps that you easily slide into by an accident and then end up not feeling like your best in that outfit. So it's about refining the details and getting closer and closer to like not only what you love as your style, but also the specific style dilemmas that present themselves to you time and time again when you're getting dressed. So for example, with the frumpiness, now we have something to work with because it is a plausible challenge point. It's not like an accidental, oh, I've put on an accidental goth dress and I don't really like dressing goth. That's kind of a really easy thing to avoid. But frumpiness is something that you could accidentally slip into no matter what your kind of style words are or what your wardrobe looks like, versus something that you don't really like but it never really shows up in your life in the first place. In that case, it doesn't really represent a problem. I hope this is making sense. I hope that we're vibing, and like, I hope that the telepathy is working and that this is making sense. I think the second lesson is to learn to actually hear your own no, because it's very obvious when we're in conversation or in relationship with someone else and they don't like something that we're doing. It's quite apparent, or they tell us, no, I don't like that, and they push back and there's a boundary. It's very obvious. And I think sometimes we can't hear our own no. For example, a bad outfit, don't force yourself to wear that. Something in you is saying, I don't like this. And oftentimes we'll overrule that voice in our head and say, it's not that bad, or you can just wear it for today, or whatever. And it ends up being a little bit of a slippery slope that we sort of push down our intuition and push down the voice that's telling us, little red flag, don't really want to go ahead with this. If we actually pay attention to that little voice of being annoyed, or the voice of like, oh, not really feeling this today, that is actually accepting your own no, hearing your own no. Like if you get a weird vibe from a color, for example, you don't have to force yourself to like it. You don't have to force yourself to start wearing it. Good personal style does not come from trying harder. It actually comes from listening to and accepting the no that comes from within you. No, I don't like that shade of yellow. No, I don't like how this pair of jeans fits. No, I don't feel like wearing this today. And if you follow those no's, you'll inevitably end up with a much more smooth, streamlined personal style that's in alignment with all parts of you and who you are and what you like. It's hearing and accepting the natural no of your body, of your lifestyle, of your activity level, etc., etc. There's so many ways that you can be hearing your own no, kind of the same as like in a relationship, like someone else showing up inconsistently is not an invitation for you to then try harder to force that relationship to work. It's an invitation for you to step back into your power, to step away. It's the same with your personal style. Like a bad outfit is not asking you to try harder to make it work or to style it. It might be asking you to like let it go and be for someone else and to work with something that actually feels like in a flow and in alignment with you and what you like. For example, if you're not reaching for something in your wardrobe, that's usually a clear indication that that's a no for you. You don't like that item. You're not magnetically drawn to it. It's not something that pulls you in, that you adore. It's something that hangs there or maybe sits there nicely folded. I don't know. And if you're not reaching for it, it's usually an indication that it needs to go somewhere else rather than, I just need to try harder to make this work. We need to stop turning no's into yeses. I actually think that your personal no needs to be more important than the potential of an item, like how you see it styled, how it could possibly work in your life, like the clothing item that you thought you'd love, that you thought would slip into your life perfectly, you thought would be with you forever. Like, why do I feel like I'm still talking about relationships here? But basically, we need to be more clear about what really is not working for us and just be more like, again, in that state of flow, able to let things go. Lastly, I also wanted to mention something that's been really helpful to me, and that is actually browsing like aggregate websites which have a lot of different brands all in there together, and you can browse by, say for example, dresses or tops or pants or something like that. And when you see all of the brands lumped in together and you're able to kind of scroll through, what you'll find is that you end up with a lot of no's. You end up with a lot of like, don't like that, don't like that, don't like that. It's a process of elimination. But what it actually helps to do is to sort of, you don't get as drawn into the consistent aesthetic of a brand. For example, if you were browsing on, we'll take Cézanne for an example, very curated, very like in and of its own aesthetic. You know you're on the Cézanne website, all of the pieces work together, and you're seeing a style and pieces that sort of work together. It's part of the same like style persona. But if you go onto a website like, say for example, Shopbop, your mind is not actually getting kind of like pulled into the streamlined aesthetic of a specific brand. You're actually seeing everything kind of jumbled in together, and it's much easier to see the pieces that you instantly scroll past, that you instantly discard and dismiss, versus the ones that pull you in. It's like much easier to actually hone in on specific pieces and styles that you like. Even this is not a shopping exercise, this is more like just training your brain to see what you like and see what you don't like. If you just have a scroll through without any intention of shopping at all, just with having an intention of just learning what you like and don't like, you'll end up scrolling and scrolling, and then you'll think, oh, I actually amn't really clicking into the t-shirts, or I don't really like things that have a high neckline, or I'm really skipping past the ones that have lots of detail or bright color, and I'm more drawn to like paired back pieces, or I'm more drawn to stripes, or I'm more drawn to, you know, insert whatever adjective you want here. And so you can really see that when you have everything sort of like jumbled in together, all the brands, it's just much easier to pick out what are the clear yeses and what are the clear nos. And from doing that process, you end up with a really, really good idea of details that you like, details that you always scroll past, types of colors that draw you in, types of styles that draw you in, versus the types of things that you would not even give a second glance to. There's something very important about context here, because once we're in the context of a very curated brand website, then we can very, very easily find ourselves being pulled into their world, pulled into their aesthetic, pulled into the idea of my whole wardrobe should come from here and I resonate with every single piece and like I could be top to toe in all of their pieces. And you kind of, it's much harder to pull out the pieces that you like versus the ones that are just like being presented really well for like through merchandising and through marketing and things like that. It's all just like part of the brand and part of the experience, versus if you're on, again, like I said, like one of those like Net-a-Porter even or Shopbop or anything like that, you end up seeing pieces out of context. And when you see them out of context, it's so much easier to tell if you actually like the piece itself, the cut, the color, the style, the details, versus if you just like the aesthetic and the vibe and the feel of the brand and how it's presented. So once we have all of those lessons kind of under our belt, I feel like then it's a really clear way to start getting into your wardrobe and shopping, because you can look through your own wardrobe and tell, okay, this is uncomfortable, this is itchy, this is too small, this never makes it into an outfit and I find it too hard to style. And the more friction that you can remove from your wardrobe, the more clear it is for you to see from the pieces that are left over, not only like what really, really works for you in your style, but also the true wardrobe gaps. It can be very difficult to see any wardrobe gaps when you're looking at a wardrobe that's full of clothes, but like 40 to 50% of them might be inappropriate items or items that you no longer wear anymore. It goes without saying that when we're shopping for new clothes, the majority of the time we're going to be saying no. We can't say yes to everything, and there's so much clothes out there that it actually is like quite unhelpful actually to even think about more is more. It's more of a less is more approach, I think, when it comes to personal style. That's not to say we can't have options, and that's not to say we can't have fun with our personal style, but I think the more that we end up saying no, the more clear and concise our style becomes, the more streamlined it becomes, the more authentic to us it becomes, and the more like, I don't know, it's just like getting that really tightly edited, curated idea of your style, which again doesn't necessarily mean having less items. It doesn't necessarily mean like owning less and being a minimalist or anything like that. It just means that the pieces that you choose are more intentionally chosen. They have this specific drape, feel, color, length, whatever that you prefer, versus just getting any old thing because it's available, because it's on sale, because it's almost perfect and I'll just have it for now. Because I promise you, those pieces that we hold on to for now, like you end up just defaulting to those and never looking for anything to replace them, versus if you had just held out a little longer and kept that gap in your wardrobe until you found the more perfect piece, it ends up lending itself to a personal style that you're so much more happy with at the end of the day. And it all starts with saying no. So let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with this perspective? And let me know what are your anti-style words in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'll see you very shortly in our next video together. Bye!